Hey guys, thanks for joining us. This is episode 18 of The Sit Down. We have a special guest with us this week. From, I don't even know where you're sitting at right now. It looks like the lake.
It's actually my backyard here in Calgary. But you got to be comfortable where you live if you're spending all your time in isolation. So we've made it nice and comfy.
Right on.
Perfect.
We've got Matt Blais with us. And I'm Joel.
I'm Mark.
Thanks for having me on.
We'll jump into it. And we're good to go. So
that's it. Okay, see you later.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. See you later.
Thanks for plugging in with us this week, Matt. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I had the first opportunity to listen to your album today. I really enjoyed it, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. It was pretty good, man.
Thank you very much. That's the idea.
Right on.
Were you not at Chesterfest when he was there?
Which night did you play at Chesterfest?
Oh man, I can't remember. It was
you played so many
nights, but it was a fun night, and it was not my turn to drive the tour van that night. And also, I mean, I did over 180 shows last year, so a lot of the finer details, like day of the week, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Joel was at one of the days at Chesterfest, and you must not have been there because Matt was in our booth. I don't know if you remember that, Matt, but he was in our booth, and we talked a little bit.
Yeah, we talked. I know.
Look at that. Yeah.
I don't see, and I don't remember much neither. I think I was there the Saturday.
that was back in the good old days when you could see people in person.
Yeah, when you could actually shake hands. No
doubt, right?
Yeah.
So how are you doing during all of this? Because no gigs, but I've seen you do some live shows or live Facebook Lives.
I've done a couple live streams. I've done 2 sort of like driveway concerts, like hired by somebody for a happy birthday set, that kind of thing. Then tomorrow, well, I guess I'm not sure when this will air, but tomorrow for me, we have rented a flatbed trailer, 18-foot trailer that we're going to set up on and play to people in apartment buildings. So,
oh, cool.
Hey man, that sounds like that'd be a good time.
Yeah,
so that was 2 days ago because this will go live on Monday.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, if you want, I could speak like it's in the past, and you could edit it in.
No,
it's all good, man.
No. It's Friday now.
So it's about being creative, right? I mean, that's why I became an artist in the first place. It's a different kind of creativity now. It's creative about how we can, present the art. But you can't hold art or artists back. We're going to find a way to perform. And so that's what we've done.
Right.
For sure, man. That's good. So the birthday, or not the birthday thing, but the driveway one, I want to hear a little bit more about that. So how does that go? You just literally go in their driveway and rock out right there, or what?
I mean, basically, you sort of, I talked with the person who was interested in having me, and we talked about how we can social distance and how basically to keep everyone safe and perform in a direction that everyone can spread out. People can bring their lawn chairs to the street and sit there and watch. And then I try to guess from afar, put my binoculars on and try to see what songs people want to hear.
Nice.
Huh.
And
that'd be so weird.
it is strange. But I've always played strange gigs. I like the strange gigs. I've played on a bus and a train and a boat and anything short of an elevator I've played. And art doesn't just belong in a museum or a concert hall. It can be anywhere. So I've always had that mindset. Um, Now it's just I'm forced to do it that way.
But yeah,
Sure.
no, that's pretty sweet. So I saw it looked like the wheels were turning there when you said just short of playing in an elevator, like you were picturing yourself playing in an elevator there. That's what it looked like.
I I might have to do that. I think that would be fun. And you just like play only for the people when they're on the elevator. And so you
Or
have like
every time the door opens, you start playing, and then you just let the
right.
doors close and nobody in.
Yeah, I mean, you learn how to get the message across really quick. That's what that
Yeah,
gig would
exactly.
be.
You have
Only
3
the hooks.
seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So what is you say you've played some strange gigs. What would be your most interesting one?
I
The most memorable one, I guess.
I mean the one of the stranger ones that comes to mind was we played in a steel mill. And it was a company wanted to do something kind of cool and unique for their employees, so they hired us to put on a rock show. And we showed up, and there was like we didn't know exactly where to go, and we're carrying our guitars, and we open this door, and there's guys like grinding steel and sparks are flying, and in come these like four hipsters in skinny jeans, and it was like in a movie, where the record scratches, the music stops, and everyone
Everybody
everyone
stops.
turns their head and is like, "What the hell is going on?" But anyway, we set up and we performed for them, and it was weird for us, and it was weird for them, but it was memorable for me, so I think they liked it too.
That's
So
pretty
was
sweet.
that like in the middle of a workday or something, or
I think it was at the end of their workday, like,
and
and it
then
was
just
just
guys
a staff
guys figured,
yeah, a staff appreciation party. So I
oh
thought that was pretty cool of, the managers or whoever hired us to put that on.
yeah, surprise, here's a musician. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
better
Well,
stop
and
working
it
now.
Yeah,
wasn't just me. It was the band. So we had drums and like we rocked out.
that's deadly.
Awesome.
So we have had guests on before, and I kind of like just hearing and more or less an origin story, right? Like what got you started in music? How long have you been into it? Just a little bit about you and the music that you're putting out. If you can just kind of dive right into it, tell us, like, have you been playing music your whole life? Or was it something you picked up in later years?
Well, I sort of got my start more. I was doing some theater and some acting,
I'm not sure if you can still
and
see us there. You froze for
kind
a
of just.
second.
Oh,
Oh, there, you're
Oh,
back.
there we go. Yeah.
okay. I'll give you that again.
Yeah.
For me, I started more in the theater and acting, wanted to be a movie star or something like that. And
Right.
my family was like pretty musical. Like we would sing on car rides, but it wasn't anything official. And it wasn't until high school where I sort of discovered Bob Dylan and Jim Morrison, that it kind of like they had something to say that was their own. And so up until then I had been, working from a script. And I in my teenage, big-headed way, I was like, well, I have something to say. And so I was inspired by writers like that, like Springsteen, like John Lennon, who were a little bit political in their writing, were um very, very real. They felt very authentic and honest, and it came from within them. And so that got me writing my own poetry, my own songs, and I didn't play an instrument at that point. So I borrowed a friend's guitar and tried to sing and play guitar at the same time. And so it was a rough road at the beginning. I'm sure it was horrible, but after a little bit of practice and, more confidence, then I was playing at parties. And then I was that guy who just took his guitar everywhere and played his guitar, whether
Right.
people wanted to listen to or not. And after a while, I got better and people started saying like, well, hey, come play my party, here's $50. And then I got a couple like festival gigs and gigs for the city. And then I blinked and I was a full-time musician, and I have been for over a decade now, probably 13 years.
So when did that realization come? Like, I can actually make a living out of this,
Or did it happen with
Well,
just
without
so
you
gradual.
noticing? Just like you said, you blinked and all of a sudden, holy shit, I'm actually doing this.
I mean, it was gradual, but I do remember kind of the moment that I made the switch, and it was I did one of those like radio contest record deal things, and I was
Right.
lucky enough to win, and that meant that I could make a really professional record and I could go on tour, and I had sort of that support system. So I was in university at the time, and I was sitting in an art history class, and I was supposed to do an interview with one of the local papers here, and they called early and I was still in class, and I had to make that choice. Do I leave class early, or do I, put that interview on hold? And so I took the call and I got up, I walked out of class, and I stood and I did an interview just in the hallway of the university. And as the class ended, I was still talking on the phone, and I watched all the students walk out of the class, and they all looked miserable. It was a boring class. And I thought, here I am, like I leave on tour next week and I'm doing, interviews, and it just felt right. And it felt more interesting and more exciting for me. So that was the moment that I thought any opportunity that comes up will trump school. And so
Yeah,
eventually I left university and played full time.
That's pretty deadly.
yeah,
In listening to your album today, I can see how, like you were mentioning Jim Morrison and like lyricists, right? And you're talking about poetry and stuff, and I picked up on that right away, man. Like, it's not like you're just writing a tune and trying to put something out. Like, there's definitely a story and you're trying to send a message out in your music, and I totally picked that up for sure, for sure. Which
I'm
I think
glad.
is like what I liked about it. I'm not into
I-
just like jingles and fun stuff like that. Like, I want to hear a good story. Like, I want to be
Yeah.
intrigued in it and sucked into it, right?
But I listened to it today at work, and so I didn't have my full attention to it. But it was the music behind it was also entertaining enough for me to leave it on,
Yeah, right,
leave it in
right.
the background. So yeah, good combination.
well,
Is that the...
I think it's got to
Go ahead,
be
sorry.
a balance. I think it's got to be a balance because, I could just scream into the void, right? I could record for myself on GarageBand and or write in a diary. So there is a certain point where it has to be. It's a two-way street. Music is, you are an active performer and an active listener, and if it's one-sided, I would question why I do it. So yeah, I appreciate that feedback from both angles, because that is something that I'm conscious of.
Yeah, I think a lot of the current pop music is just there to scream into that void and doesn't
And be
really have a
a catchy
message.
jingle or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's all.
exactly. Yeah,
Well, I mean, lately I've been on this kick that like what the world needs right now is love, sweet love. No, what the world
Do
needs
you dig music?
is another Bob Dylan or another Bob Marley, right?
Yeah.
Political music, courageous music. But music like that doesn't really, I mean, it gets made, but it doesn't get promoted in the same way. And
Right,
that's
like
because
mainstream, right?
Yeah.
right. And the mainstream companies are so huge and they're part of this big machine. So why would they promote artists that excite rebellion or critical thinking even? So of course the mainstream music that we get right now, it is literally meant to subdue us. Because if there was
Yeah.
Yeah.
another, you know, Bob Marley singing about change or Bob Dylan singing about peace, uh, that gives people inspiration and hope to go out and fight and change. And so and change that system, but they're a part of that system. So of course we get, you
Yeah.
know, bubblegum pop.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking that on the, like, I was driving and I had a local radio station on, and with the whole, Black Lives Matter thing right now, they had a like a 15-second clip of or whatever, that this radio station supports our indigenous community, black community, and all minorities, and it was very, it you know it sounded
Corporate?
like, yeah, it sounded like, well, we know we need to put this message out, but we don't want to offend anyone, so we do it very mellow, and so that nobody gets offended. And I'm like, well, that's
Yeah,
nice that you
that's
have that message, but it doesn't actually do anything.
yeah, like why not just keep doing what you're already doing, right?
Yeah,
Like
or make a bold statement, one or the
Yeah,
other.
I
But,
think yeah, there's a lot of you know, playing it safe
yeah,
in the um corporate world, I guess. And playing it safe has never, that I know of, made good art, right? Art is about
no,
risks, and
yeah,
business is not necessarily about risks.
about risk. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you want to play it safe to make the money, right?
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
right. And so that's why it collides. However, you look at some of the biggest, most successful bands and artists of all time, companies took risks. You're telling me Bob Dylan was in that office and that executive said, "Oh, he sings like an angel."
Yeah.
No,
nope,
no. They took a
no,
risk because he had a strange voice and there was something exciting about it, and they gambled and it paid off huge, right?
yeah,
Same with Springsteen. The Beatles were what, like 17, 16?
Right.
They
yeah,
took a risk on kids. And now, it's just not that way. And I'm not in the industry enough, with my talons to to even know anything about it or to change it. I just do what I do. But
hmm,
I don't expect a big uh, record deal anytime soon because I care about the stories I tell and what I sing about, and I
yeah,
wouldn't want to
And you're
sacrifice
doing
that.
what you want to do, right? It's
Yeah,
the way you want to do it as well.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you
yeah.
would get a record deal from any big company, then you would be at risk of them telling you what kind of music to make.
Potentially.
Yeah,
I'm sure there are cool labels out there that really support their artists and that, but
yeah,
I do understand at the end of the day you got to make a buck too.
yeah,
Right.
But it's never really been my main focus. When I got that sort of record deal, that radio contest thing at the beginning, that was great and it launched my career. But there was a lot of shit that came with it, right? And a lot of
yeah,
phone calls and writing emails to people that you've never met about the kind of record that you're going to make. And at the time I was 20 years old. Like I barely
yeah.
knew how to do anything. And so,
Yeah.
suddenly sitting in boardrooms was the least rock and roll thing that I could have imagined.
Yeah.
Right. I'm curious to know. I do have a few questions for sure. One is like for like your album, for example, how do you approach writing a song? Do you do like, obviously you've got some kind of system. Does it like you look at the lyrics first and start off with like some poetry and then trying to back it with like music, or do you start with music and then kind of just go with the feel and add lyrics to whatever you're feeling with that music? Like what's your writing process, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
It's pretty varied, to be honest. Like kind of all those that you mentioned, I do those and then some. The one that comes to mind, the first track off the album, the one that kind of started the whole album as an idea, is called Everything Connected. And
I'm going to say that's my favorite on the whole album too. That it hooked me in like 15 seconds in, dude. I had to pause it and I went upstairs and I got my wife and I was like, okay, this guy's going to be on the show tonight. You got to come listen to this album with me. And then I started it over and we listened to the whole thing. I was like, 15 seconds in, man. I was like, you got to come listen to this. It's awesome.
So, well, thank you. So that one, that song, funnily enough, started with the lyrics almost entirely, with maybe the exception of the chorus, but it was written as sort of like a folk song, right? Because I thought really antiquated music, like just simple acoustic instruments, and then talking about technology and that struggle would be really interesting. So I wrote it kind of like la-di-da folk. And then it was, do you remember that song Stompa came out? And it was like kind of rootsy, but like a really cool beat. And I think it's Serena Ryder. And I had these lyrics just in my head from my like little folk song, and I heard Stompa on the radio, and the lyrics that I was trying to memorize for my song kind of fit over her song. And I thought,
right. Okay,
maybe this song can be a banger. So then I reworked it and took it into the studio, and we came up with some extra chords, and we livened up the chorus. So in that case, it was lyrics first, and then the music totally changed. But also sometimes it's based around a specific riff, and I'll play the riff until it's in the back of my mind, and I'll add in lyrics that make me feel good. But also, I just type lyrics into my phone, and if I ever have to like sit down and write, like this is the time, I just go to my phone and I go scroll through, find one lyric,
piece
that
it
speaks
together,
to me.
right?
And maybe I wrote that one lyric 6 years ago. I don't remember how the melody went. I'll add that in later.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I even did what I now call a puzzle song, which was I just wrote lyric after lyric, like sort of word vomit on the page, and then I ripped up the page into like one lines. So I had like, I don't know, 60 some strips of paper with lines of text on them, and then I pieced it together like a puzzle until it made sense. That's song's not out yet, but that one
because you haven't pieced it together yet.
I seriously pieced it together with Scotch tape, but if and when I get to make another record, it'll be on that record, because this is pretty new.
That's cool. I can't wait, man. I definitely want to hear that.
So to answer your question about process, I don't really have one, because I would be afraid of falling into the same patterns and the same
yeah, that makes perfect sense, dude. I totally get that. I do have another question too. I wrote a little note on on the song Love Together. I was curious about a little backstory on that song. Like, I just had a feeling that there's like maybe a specific reason or event that happened that generated the creation of that song. And I'm just curious about it. It was a beautiful song, man. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Well, there's sort of a two two parts to this. And the first being, I did a program called Canada's Music Incubator. And basically, they're industry people who team up with artists who, sort of need a leg up in their career or looking to go to the next step, which in my opinion should be all artists.
Right.
And for me, it sort of came at a time where, I've made records, I've gone on tour, I consider myself an artist. But what's next? Because I'm not going to sign that Justin Bieber money kind of contract. Am I going to be driving in a van playing clubs for the rest of my life? Is that something that I want? So it was very existential. The reason why I joined this sort of coalition, and what I got out of that was a really strong sense of community with the artists that I worked with. And so Love Together is not necessarily like a romantic love song,
right,
but it's a community love song. It's a like lean on me and I'll lean back on you kind of song.
Oh, yeah.
And so
I think, for sure, dude. Sorry to cut you off here a little bit. I was gonna just add to the feeling I was getting from it. It was almost as if it fit with what's going on in society today, like in the last few weeks and everything, right? Maybe that's why I kind of like got a feeling from it, and I was like, I'm curious, like, what made you write this one, because it's suitable. That's all.
Yeah. So actually, how I wrote it, crazily enough, we had almost like a sharing circle, like almost like an AA meeting or something like that, where you're like bearing your soul to these other artists. And at that time I was in a creative rut, a songwriting rut. And I said, like, I don't know what the point is. Like I've forgotten why I write songs. And so I'm stuck. And so we talked that through, and then they challenged me. They said, we're going to give you 10 minutes and you have to perform for us whatever you write.
Whether just it's shit or minutes. Not, just,
Yeah, exactly. So to get the ball rolling, commit to a 10-minute write and come back to us. And so what came out was 95% of Love Together was written in that 10 minutes. Yeah. And then and they even put it on Instagram and everything. So somewhere on the gram is my first performance of that song.
After 10 minutes of writing.
After 10 minutes. So like, I'd like to think I work well under pressure, but that was a little bit of magic.
But actually, I hear that a lot, that a lot of the good songs are just either under pressure or, in a wave of creativeness, and then all of a sudden, an hour later, there's a song.
Yeah, I've heard that about Bob Dylan's "Blowing in the Wind" was written in like 10 minutes or something like that. Yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah. And it's like one of the greatest songs ever written.
Yeah.
Man, my notes here on that album are terrible.
It's because you were listening so intensely.
That's right.
I don't have notes because I had it in the background and I still enjoyed it.
Well, I was definitely paying attention. I did want to ask, like, and this is such a dumb question, but on The Devil Wins Again, great song. At first, and correct me if I'm wrong, like there's, I think it's in the chorus, there's almost like some backup vocals or like something going on. I thought it was like girls in the background, but then at the end of the song, I kind of felt that it was you doing like your own backups on the track. Is that accurate?
Oh, I wish I could sing that high.
It wasn't you, right?
It was not me. We worked with an amazing, like just amazing group of musicians on the whole record. Jimmy Boskill plays a lot of the guitar, and Sean Peters on the keyboards. Cone from Sum 41 plays bass on some of the tracks, and I think we worked with 3 or 4 different female backup singers who just
Right.
like who killed it on the harmonies and just like really made the record that extra special. Like I don't like to stick to the one sound, right? So to
Yeah.
have different people and different tonal vocal qualities is really amazing.
Right. Yeah. No. And like I said, at first I was like, oh yeah, like I'm not specifically thinking about it, and I'm just thinking, oh, those are like, you know, some backup girls, whatever. But I think it's like the last time they come into the song, it almost like it's them, and then you flow into it like so smoothly. Yeah. I was like, what is that? Him doing that too? Just threw me off as well. So I definitely wanted to ask if that was you doing it in the whole song or not.
I mean, I'll have to listen to it again, but I know that they're on there.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I like this. I like this like song by song breakdown, because so often you do an interview and you talk about the album as a whole and hope that people just like tune in to the whole thing. But I like talking song by song so that people know exactly what to search for.
Well, for sure.
What's your favorite song on the album yourself? Your own song?
Yeah.
What do you like about it? Which one?
Well, I mean, Everything Connected is, you know, one that I'm really, really proud of. But also the last one that we recorded is the last one on the album. So the album is not just, it's sort of chronological in the way that it was written, which is kind of interesting. So I knew that we needed one more song. And so the rest of the album was basically done. And I thought, I want one more like upbeat one. And so Along for the Ride was written to complete the album. And I thought, well, what journey has this gone on? We've talked about technology and struggle, and what's the final message that you kind of want to leave? And I thought, I've been thinking about this too much, and you put too much pressure on it. And it stresses you out and it makes it not fun anymore. Why don't you just go along for the ride? And then went, ding, light bulb moment. I want to write a song about just like enjoying the journey that you're on. So Along for the Ride, you know, just came out of me, and we recorded it and like mixed it and mastered it all in a super rush to meet some deadlines. And so it's my other favorite, the first and the last song. You got to bookend your album.
Look at my notes here. So on my notes, I have a star beside the first one and the last one, because those were my top 2 on the whole album. So that's kind of funny. So
well, we
great
both
minds think alike, man.
Yeah.
What I like about that being the last track on the album as well is it's almost as if like a what's next. You know, it's like leaving it open. You're along for the ride. Where's the ride going to take you, right? What's next to come in your career, your album, or next album, or you know what I mean? So I thought that was purposely done. And I thought that was pretty smart. If it wasn't, it's still genius.
I'll take subconscious credit for it.
Cool. I think it's time for a little break.
Okay.
And then we'll be back right after this.
This episode is brought to you by Kanto Audio. Kanto is a Canadian company that produces quality speakers and accessories like cables, TV, and speaker mounts. Their latest flagship model is the Kanto Tuk, named after the remote Canadian hamlet Tuktoyaktuk. The speakers feature AMT tweeters, 13cm aluminum woofers, 65 watts per channel, and a wide range of input methods like RCA for a CD player, Bluetooth for your phone, Toslink optical input for your TV, and built-in phono stage, so setting up your turntable is easy peasy. Connecting them to Kanto's sub-6 or sub-8 subwoofers completes the full range sound that anyone will enjoy. They come in 2 colors, matte black and matte white, and they're available at Funky Moose Records via fmr.fm/tuk. That is fmr.fm/TUK.
All right, we are back, guys. So we had videos playing in the background here, and I wanted to kind of do a little deep dive, if you will. Maybe not even deep dive, but
A little dive.
A little dive into the maybe production process of filming videos, how many of them you've got, and what do you think of when you see, like for example, we've got one of your videos playing in the background.
Give a little more.
Give a little more, and you seeing that in the background, are you just like thinking of shit that goes on behind the scenes in the cameras, or are you thinking like, oh, that's beautiful, and I don't know, what's going on in your head when you see somebody watching it?
Well, for Give a Little More, I just wanted something that captured what we do live. So I invited, that's actually filmed in the basement where I used to live. And I just invited a bunch of friends over, some of like, my loyal fans who I've gotten to know over the years. And Wild Rose Brewery gave us 2 kegs of beer, and we literally just partied in my basement. And like, I think we maybe did the song 7 times, so that the 2 camera guys, Noam Suisa is the director of it, and we just played the song 7 times to the recording, and then partied and drank with our friends. Like, simple as that. So, I don't know if there's like poetry in this video, but it's about energy, right? So
Fun.
when I look at it, it's fond memories only. That's what I'm thinking. I was like watching it with a little bit of a smile, going like, that was a fun night.
How long ago did you record the video?
We did the video actually before the album came out. So that must have been like, I think maybe we filmed it in 2017, and then it was an early release off the album. So I think it came out in like 18.
It says the video was uploaded June 28th, 2017.
2017. Okay, yeah. So we probably filmed it earlier that year.
Awesome.
Cool.
And then I was just going to say, Fool's Gold, on the other hand, was a completely different video process.
Was that the one that we just had played?
One.
No,
that's Running.
That's
off my second record. So Fool's Gold, my partner, she's a choreographer and a dancer, and we just, we work really well together creatively. And so we wanted to do some sort of project together that involved music and dance. And so I went through all the songs that I had at that point, and we came up with this theme of, in the artistic world, you don't know what's real and what's fake, and everyone who says they're real, are they really fake? And everyone's lying to you. And being an artist is trying to walk that tightrope between authenticity and showmanship in a way. Mm-hmm. And she faced that as a dancer and a choreographer. And so this video came out with that. We wanted some choreography. We wanted something very stylized and something different. I'd never worn makeup in a music video before. So
is she one of the dancers?
She is one of the dancers. Yeah. She's in the video there.
You can tell us off air which one.
Do we need to take a guess who she is, or
I can't see the video well enough to know which one she is. But there's like a slow-mo shot where her bracelets fall down her wrists. And that's her. She's got red hair.
Is she there with you right now?
She's doing some gardening out in the yard and playing with our dog.
Right on. What's your dog's name there? We saw him before we started recording.
Come here. My dog's name is Mezzo. He's
Mezzo.
Right here. Mezzo, Mezzo, sort of like mezzo soprano or mezzo forte, sort of a musical name.
Huh. Big doggo.
He gets a little camera shy, but sometimes I think he's more famous than I am, because people on my Instagram, they just They want to see him.
Right. That's awesome.
They don't care. They don't care what parody song or performance I'm doing or pictures of my guitars. They just want to see Mezzo.
Mezzo's gonna have to start his own
Wait.
IG page.
Hang on. Did you say parody song?
Yeah, I figured you would want to talk about my my dabbling into Tiger King world of stardom.
So okay, we have to have some sound with this one too.
Do we have permission to play this?
You do.
All right.
So if people look up my Instagram or my YouTube rather, Matt Blais Music, then they'll find this. And this is a COVID creation, and it does.
Oh, and that
star
was Mezzo there, wasn't it? There he was.
Yeah, as the tiger. So
Is that
right when the world went into lockdown, I think people had the choice to, like, obviously it's the worst. Like, nobody's super happy about the situation, but we decided that we didn't want to sit and stew in it and let ourselves get too down. And we had just watched the Tiger King thing, and the song had been stuck in my head. And so we filmed this in the dog park where we walk Mezzo, like right in my community. And
so this is your town right here?
Yeah, in the background there. And so I put on the most ridiculous costume I could think of, and I sang at the top of my lungs. That's the tour van right there.
Oh my God.
So I try to not take myself too seriously sometimes.
This is rad.
This is awesome.
And
everybody listening and not watching, put this on pause, go to YouTube and look up I Saw Tiger by Matt Exotic. You'll not be disappointed.
Yeah.
This is pretty deadly.
I just knew that people, like, I needed a laugh, right? I needed a distraction. And so I knew that other people would too. And so we just, we got a little tipsy and we went out to a field and we made a joke, and it really caught on. It didn't go viral or anything like that, but in my circles, I had so many people just being like, thank you. That's exactly what I needed today.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So we wanted to talk a little bit more. So the first half was more about, who is Matt,
origins,
where you came from, and all that. But now we want to look at a little bit more at the future. So right now, you're obviously not gigging. Are you taking time to write a new album?
I try to constantly write, and by that, I don't mean every day. I don't sit down with it every day, but in the back of my mind, I'm a songwriter, so I'm kind of always working on a new album.
Yeah,
I would say I'm about halfway there. I've got some songs that I really love and I'm really proud of, and that I want people to hear. So, I'm still kind of on the cycle of the last album, because I was supposed to be playing festivals and all of that right now and selling that. So I'm not like booking studio time or anything, but I am collecting, my best stuff.
Right. Yeah. That's pretty sweet. So because like you're not touring and everything not in light of what's going on, but because of the shit that the world's going through, Mark, did you say at the top that you were doing like some webinar gigs or something, like you've played streaming?
I've done a couple. I've done a couple Facebook lives, but I try to not saturate it too much. Like I'm taking this as kind of a creative break and recharge my batteries. Like I said, I played so much last year that my voice was feeling tired, and so I'm trying to take the good with this and just recharge. But when it starts up again, so we actually had a socially distanced rehearsal last night, and it was really fun. Okay. And it was really fun, to see the guys again and jam a little bit. So as soon as the world opens up, I'll be booking a tour again and going to all the, to see all our friends and all our favorite places.
Mm-hmm.
That's rad.
Cool. So, okay, so the gigs that you had planned for this summer, did you rebook them for next year or?
I mean, officially, no for most of them. Mm-hmm. Yes for a few of them, but people are so uncertain, right? Like, some we postponed, and then a week after we postponed them, they changed the rules.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And so then we just canceled them. A lot of the festivals have said they're coming back, but some festivals have just said, like, no, like we were on a shoestring budget before, and now we can't continue. So that's really sad.
Yeah, that sucks.
So I mean, even for live music venues, right? They're tough times. They don't know if they can open their doors if this goes on much longer.
I heard on the radio that a few artists, Dave Grohl being one of them,
Lady Gaga,
Lady Gaga, they were. How did they word that? They were trying to sign a. Was it a petition or something? I don't remember.
I think they were just lobbying for support. Like,
right,
I think they were using their powerful voice to, whether that's like government intervention or something. They were just like raising awareness at very least.
Yeah, to get the live venues back up and running again, because they were pretty much the first ones to close, and they'll probably be the last ones to open back up. That's a long time for.
Yeah,
right.
So, I would like to see them back open, because I'm sure venues like that can make something work. Like I'm sure you can distance somehow. If we look at the Core Center in Saskatoon, I'm sure we can make something work where people are. I mean, you wouldn't be able at full capacity, but maybe do 50% and let people distance. Wear face masks or
that's
something.
Okay. I couldn't sell out that place anyway, so
no,
50%'s fine.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that would. It's tough to say. Yeah. It really is. I always visualize more of like an outdoor kind of thing going on than indoors.
Well, and that's what's such a disappointment about festivals like Chesterfest or Revelstoke Summer Street Festival. It's not like Coachella. It's not like people crammed in at the front row. Like this is sort of indie fests that like they were kind of spaced out anyway. Mm-hmm. And now I understand like bathroom facilities and water and food and all that. There's a lot of moving parts, but I was like, I was just really disappointed,
Yeah, for sure.
Not just because I don't get to see some friends. I don't get to, visit those places.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll survive.
Does it this might be like, I don't want to overstep the line or anything, but so you're a full-time musician, right? And because you can't get out to venues and obviously generate an income off of it, how does that like affect you financially?
Well, so
and we want to see bank statements here.
Yeah, I want proof. Just kidding. But you know what I mean?
Trump
like, I hope that's not like too much.
That's right. Yeah.
No.
Compare yourself to Trump. That's yeah.
So officially, I'm at over 40 gigs canceled, and then I just stopped counting.
Holy shit.
That doesn't include all the gigs that I would have booked or were close to confirming, or all of that.
Yeah.
So it is, it is a hit financially. I got a couple of guitar students that I teach online, so that helps. Some of those like curbside shows and things. So, I'm not I'm lucky in that respect. I've also turned to some woodworking. I've been doing
I saw
like
that.
my hobby woodworking, building shelves and picture frames and that kind of thing. And so, I make ends meet by being creative in different ways.
Right.
Yeah. So for everyone listening and watching, the woodworking, Matt also does vinyl record shelves. And
Yes.
it's basically a board, like the size
Yeah.
of a, what is it, 2x4? That size, but it looks
It's
pretty.
yeah, it's like a 1x4 that
Okay.
I
On
sand
the
and
Instagram?
stain, and then I cut a groove into it
Yeah.
so that, let's say you're putting on Springsteen, Born to Run, right? You set the record down, you drop the needle, and then instead of like just chucking the cover somewhere, you set it and it sits in the groove, and then it displays what you're playing.
That's right. So I'm trying to find a picture of it really quick here, but is it on your website by any chance?
There's one on my Instagram.
Instagram.
I'm on your Instagram right now here trying to find it.
I think I can't look at my phone because it's filming me, but
Oh, okay.
it's
right here. That's the last post
it's on
I
my
think you
grid
did,
here.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. So basically, I've just been making things that I want.
Yeah.
And kind of learning how to do it or perfecting how to do it.
Yeah.
And then I make a bunch more and post them on Facebook. I don't think I'll be like a full-time carpenter anytime soon, but little small Pinteresty projects are helping me pass the time and not think about my predicament too much.
There you go. So support Matt. Go to his website, contact him somehow. Instagram probably the best thing, and buy some of those shelves. Also, if you want to support him, his album, his vinyl record, is going to be available on our site soon when they arrive.
That's right.
Because you sent them, I don't have them yet. So,
yeah. I'm really excited. One thing that I always wanted to do was have my music on vinyl, because when I discovered, Jim Morrison and Bob Dylan, and it was on wax. It was printed on wax, and I would go to garage sales with my dad and, search through all the, Carpenters and Harry Belafonte and like all the stuff I didn't want to listen to. And then when I found Zeppelin, then when I found Zeppelin 3, it was like sheer joy. I could have downloaded it so easily, but it's the hunt for music that is exciting. And so it was a lifelong dream to put a record out on vinyl. So thank you for selling it and, for posting the cover on the screen there.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, look at that handsome guy.
Yeah. Who's that? That's not the same guy as that one.
I mean, he's a little less, COVID shaggy. He had a haircut. But that was actually taken when we filmed the Everything Connected music video.
Oh, yeah.
I built that speaker wall in my basement.
Oh.
And we did. So I just like put the call out on Kijiji and asked friends. I was like, if you got old speakers, let me have them, let me buy them, let me borrow them. And I built that wall in my basement. And I thought, well, I've done all this work driving around the city, collecting speakers. I got to milk this for all it's worth.
Yeah.
And then that became the album cover.
Right on. So what are you
thinking? And the backdrop for a music video.
Exactly. Yeah.
What's the thought going in your mind at that very, very second?
I have no idea. Just make me look cool.
Right.
Do you know that? You ever seen the movie Almost Famous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost Famous. there's that line in it when they, the kids doing the article for Rolling Stone, and they're like, just make us look cool.
Yeah.
And it's just like, like the jaded musician. Apparently that's what I am.
That's so awesome. I think our first like 2 or 3 episodes, all we're doing is like movie references from Almost Famous. Like,
it's a classic. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, you got me beat. I don't have that on vinyl, but it is such a good soundtrack.
he hadn't seen the movie till like
Nope.
March.
Because we actually shot the first 2 episodes, and you kept referencing it. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
he didn't know what the hell I was talking about. So I was like, dude, I gotta lend you this movie, man. And then he goes out and gets, you won that record in a contest.
I won it
like
in a raffle.
shortly after he saw the movie.
Yeah, because it came up, and I was like, hey,
Oh wow.
I watched that movie. Click. So that's how that happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I would say that might be the most influential movie of my life.
Really?
That and Crazy Heart. I love sad movies, and Almost Famous to me is it's a sad movie, which not everybody I think picks up on. But from my angle of being on the road and being having a wandering sense of home is what that movie strikes a chord.
Yeah.
that's sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, and where what's her name?
Penny Lane.
Yeah, when she kind of gets sold to the next band for a case of beer.
Right.
I mean, that's probably actually happened. That's.
Yeah, I mean, there's. It's interesting. Just when you talk like the '70s rockers, it seems so long ago, but also it wasn't that long ago. And
That's our parents' generation, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so just they probably thought that they were pretty progressive at that time, and yet we're even more progressive now, and things that we do now will be viewed like how they did some certain things now, not acceptably, right? And so I do like to see a particular kind of progression, right? The notion of like a rock star, a rock god, like they used to be called, that doesn't really exist anymore. And I don't know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I prefer artists who like I said, are more authentic and more real, and
humble and down to earth, right?
Yeah. And like, I still, somebody like David Bowie. David Bowie's not down to earth. He's definitely like larger than life. And I respect that. But you also don't like to hear some of the stories from those rock gods, right? Into how they treated people or things they did.
Yeah.
When I was 16, I wanted to be a rock god. And now I'm just happy to be like a human.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
To being who you are, and doing what you love to do.
A rocking
for
human.
sure.
Yeah.
So is going back to the future. Get it?
There's that movie reference.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
No. Want me to explain to you? So what are the type of gigs that you would like to play more of, and what is your ultimate goal? Would it be something? Would you want to play an arena, for example?
I think I would. I don't really turn down a gig because of where it is. If it feels right, I'll do it. If I was asked to open up for a band that I didn't think that we like gelled with, or let me think of an example. If I was asked to, even better, let me tell you a story. The most people that I've ever played to at once was 12,000 people,
Okay,
which is a great number to bust out at like a dinner party or around the fire. 12,000 people sounds amazing. It was technically like a amphitheater stadium show, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the worst shows I've ever played because this was right when I went full time. We were a little more folky than rock. And we got booked to play the halftime show at a monster truck rally.
Okay.
So here I am in my skinny jeans, maybe a little bit of a pretty boy, and playing this like folk pop music. And we got heckled, we got jeered. It was not a good show. It was not a fun time. Nobody really was that nice to us. So I've played to 12,000 people.
Yeah.
But I would much prefer to play to 12 people who actually were into what I was doing and actually listening and who cared. So the long answer to your question, I guess, is the gigs that I would like to play are for music lovers and people who will listen to the words and connect with me on a somewhat deeper level. So as a solo artist, I've been playing more house concerts. I've done whole house concert tours because I find them really interesting to get to know your audience. And there's something to be said for playing to a sea of people, but there is something to be said to look into the eyes of someone who is connecting with a sad song or a happy song, or who has their own story to tell. And like I said at the onset of this, music is a two-way street. And so I don't just want to tell stories, I want to hear stories. I don't just want to give experiences, I want to be part of experiences. So any gig and any venue that allows me to do that makes it on the tour. I'm not that choosy.
Right.
Cool. I like that.
Well,
answer.
I do too. It like you're living it, right?
Yeah.
So by living it and doing it can possibly provide you more content to grow and write the next song and do the next venue and generate the content from it. I totally get it.
Yeah. I'm not a songwriter, but it does make sense.
I dig music.
But you are
Please
a
go the fuck
person,
away.
right? Like you are a person looking to connect with other people.
Yeah.
And I'm really into the Black Crowes. Always have been. And in my opinion, the Black Crowes got too big too fast, right? That's kind of what happened with that band.
Yeah.
And obviously I don't know anything about the internal workings of it, but from my perspective, they didn't get to put in those roots before they blossomed, I guess. Where me, I've got a lot of roots that I can fall back on after a bad show, or if I lose money on a tour, which happens, to bands more often than they'd like to admit. It's like, I got the foundation. It's not just fans that I see from 20,000 people away. It's like, no, I got friends in every city. If I need a place to crash, I've got that. And so I'm really, I view myself as lucky that it's kind of worked out that way. Am I, a huge superstar? No, but I've gotten to meet the people who buy my records, and I value that more.
Yeah.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
For sure.
Why are you staring at me?
I'm trying to think of a segue into my next question.
Oh, no, just ask.
Which I might even ask off air, but well, I was gonna throw it back to the first half actually.
Oh.
That's why I'm kind of sitting on it waiting. You were talking about a song that you pieced together, right? Like literally pieced it together.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to ask is once that's recorded, if you would be willing to maybe jam it out on this podcast, maybe come back as a guest again and maybe play it live for the fans and viewers on YouTube and stuff like that once it's recorded and released and everything. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Or
Because I want to hear it. I want to hear that one
we
so
can
bad.
have him as a house concert here.
Oh, that'd be fun too.
If you're in the area,
Yeah, that would be great.
If you're out this way.
It's a long song. It's a long song. I'll warn you now. It's like 6 or 7 verses long. It's like it's from the old school like folk tradition. But I would be happy to play it for you in person or online.
Cool.
Whatever you guys want.
Right. I think I want to see it in person.
Yeah.
I would love to have you back as a guest man in person next time once all this social distancing and stuff lets up a bit and you're in the area. Definitely we want to start doing that kind of thing with musicians is get in front of them, not just through Zoom all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then just have that casual fun time and just record for an hour and just whatever happens kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, I would love that.
Cool.
I would love that, even if you weren't the first people that I saw right away, because like I haven't engaged much face to face, so it would be all the more special.
Right on. We'll get some of those albums autographed, maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, sounds good.
Yeah.
Nice. So on that note, is there anything specific you got coming up relatively quick that you might want to plug? Maybe your Instagram, your website, that kind of thing right now?
Well, I've been, like I said, recharging my batteries. So what that means is that when stuff happens, hopefully it'll be a flurry of creativity and a whole bunch of, stuff is in the chamber awaiting release. So in the meantime, it's going to be, selfies of me suntanning and pictures of the dog and maybe some little demos and live performances here. So everyone should just follow my socials and Instagram. It's all Matt Blais Music, Blais.
Excellent.
Cool.
Right on.
I'm out of stuff to ask, I think. Unless there's something you want to specifically talk about.
I don't think so. I think we've covered a lot of not typical stuff, right? Like it's not every day you have an artist on who got dressed up in jeggings for Tiger King parodies. So. and the dog made his cameo appearance. So
that's right. Yeah. I think for the people who don't know you, I think we got a lot of ground covered in getting to know you. So I think that's
it was definitely, man. You're like an awesome guest. I want to see you play live in person.
Yep.
And I
enjoyed
used up
the
all
album.
my stories for you guys.
Well, you got to create some more and then come over.
Okay. Well, then Tiger King needs to release a new season.
Okay. I'll get on the phone with Joe.
Yeah.
From jail or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
awesome. Thanks for joining us and talking about everything you talked about. And
yep. I think we're good.
Follow Matt, follow us, and yeah.
Yeah, and thank you guys for having me on and for doing this, but also for pushing vinyl and keeping the old school traditions alive. Us old souls got to stick together.
That's right, brother.
Okay, thanks for joining us. Everybody else,
you're more than welcome anytime, man. You just reach out if you want to get in touch with us too.
And if you are in the area and you need a bed, we have a bed.
Hey, there we go. See, I got friends all over. Thank you guys. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
You too. Thank you.
Right on. Bye, Matt.
Adios.
Bye.